having. I'm Nicole van der Hoeven. I am currently in the Netherlands right now in Maastricht. And welcome. This is Testing with K6 and Grafana, Better Together. So in mid-June, just 3 months ago, K6 joined the Grafana Labs family. Many people didn't quite understand what the connection was between K6 and Grafana, but I actually thought it made a lot of sense. So if you've read Google's site reliability engineering book, they talk about 4 golden signals that we should measure in a system. That's latency, traffic, errors, and saturation. So load testing provides 3 of those, but so that's latency, traffic, and errors, but it doesn't show saturation, and it also doesn't give visibility into the system. So Grafana brings observability and K6 brings the data. So they work really well together, which is why we've been using each other's products for a few years now, even before there was ever any talk of an acquisition. So today I'm going to show you how to get started with K6. So let's just jump right in. I'm going to start off with this, this view of my IDE. The simplest K6 script looks like this. So you import the HTTP library from K6, and you have this function, and this is the most basic function that you could have. It just consists of one HTTP GET request. Right now, this is just a query to my database to get information about Pokemons, because I love Pokemon. But this is what it could be if we're trying to be a little bit more realistic about what we're doing. And the reason that I added a bunch of other things is because a load testing tool shouldn't just be a request sender. For instance, here I am checking for the response. So that's important because you want to make sure, normally there's some cases where you might want to do otherwise, but here I want to check to make sure that the response code that's being returned is an HTTP 200, okay. But that's not enough, because sometimes you get a 200 back, but in the response body, you get like error or something. So I'm specifically checking that the text Pikachu comes back as well. And then I have a think time here just to simulate a real user that pauses between sending requests. And if we go back to the simpler test here, this is just running one user and one iteration, but that's just a one-off kind of thing. So for it to be a little bit longer, I've put the duration here to 5 minutes. And of course you can ramp this up, but this is just for a demo. And I've set the number of VUs here to 5. I'm actually going to run this. I'm aware that I'm the first person that's brave enough to do a demo. I don't know if that's a good thing, but we'll see. So once you have K6 installed, I'm on Mac, so to install it, it's brew install K6, but you can check out our documentation at k6.io/docs. But once you've got that installed, you just do K6 run, and then the name of your script. And this is what it looks like on your terminal. So we can see here that this is a local execution of this script. It shows how many virtual users are running. Right now, all 5 are up and they're running iterations, and it starts to count down to how many iterations it has run. I'm not actually going to let this finish. I'm going to stop it in advance. I've increased the size on my IDE. So now it's formatted a little bit better. And we can see that the checks are here and they're coming back, that it's coming back as having passed. So we are getting the right page. And what I'm looking at here is the HTTP rec duration. So this line in particular is showing me the response time for those responses that came back as expected. So they weren't 404s or 500 or anything else. So this is how to run K6 from the CLI. There's K6, the OSS tool, so that's free and open source, and you can run up to 40,000 users. But we also have a SaaS platform that we call K6 Cloud, and it uses the same tool, but it adds a little bit more like features in terms of convenience. So let me show you how to do that. If you're just starting, you would do K6 login cloud, and then that'll ask you for your credentials or your API token, but I've already done that. So right now, what I want to show you is I want to run the test still locally, but then I want to output the results to the cloud, to my cloud account anyway. So that's K6 run, and then still the name of the test. Now I'll add this flag to output it to the cloud. So now it'll still say that it's running locally, which is right, but now it's going to the cloud. So let's head over to my cloud account. And there it is, this simple.js here. This is a list of all my tests, and this blue one is saying that that's the one that's running. So I already logged into my K6 cloud account, and it says that it's a local execution, 5 virtual users. And this is why I like to, even if I'm troubleshooting or something like that, I like to output it to the cloud, just because this is just a nicer view. You get a lot more feedback than, the terminal. So I'll head back over to that. The problem is, though, if you want to scale up from here, there's a certain point after which it becomes just really unwieldy to be executing just on your local machine. You could run on several ones, but for very large tests, or if you want to run in different geographical locations, I think it's just easier to run on the cloud. So when you do that, you're running your test on load generators in our AWS account effectively. So let me stop this. I'll show you how to do that. It's just a change in command. So now it's K6 cloud and still the same thing. So it should take a little bit longer, because what's happening here is that K6 is now sending these, the script and the CSV file, or actually I don't have a CSV file for this. So it's sending the script and provisioning an AWS instance for me. And now we see that it's going to the cloud. So if we head back there, back to this project, and now this is the one that we have just kicked off, which should have the load zone is in the cloud. Now you can also change this so that it runs from somewhere else. So this is the same sort of thing, except it gives you more flexibility on where that load is coming from, because you want to make it as realistic as possible for your users, right? So let's go back to the presentation. So that's an intro to K6, but what does this have to do with Grafana? Because that's probably what you're interested in if you're in this meetup. So K6 can be integrated with Grafana in 2 ways. First, there's the K6 data source plugin, which sets up K6 Cloud in particular as a data source in Grafana. And it works with any instance of Grafana, but it doesn't work with K6 OSS. So just the CLI tool. Secondly, there's Prometheus Remote Write. K6 doesn't yet expose load testing results in Prometheus format. You can ask me about that later, but this way lets you utilize the remote write feature of Prometheus to effectively push the results to Prometheus. And this works with both K6 OSS and K6 Cloud, and with any instance of Prometheus, so not just Grafana. So let me show you how both of these 2 ways work. So first, the K6 Cloud Data Source plugin. To install it, you need to go to this, and maybe I'll post this. The chat has disappeared, but I will post it in chat later. But you go here and install your plugin. You have to be logged into your Grafana Cloud account, but then you do that. And when you get into your account, you go to this cog and then go to data sources. That's this page. And then type in K6 Cloud. And when you click on it, it's going to ask you for your API token. And how you get that is on your K6 Cloud account. I'm not going to do it here because I don't want to expose my API token, but you click on that and then you copy that string and then you put it back here. And you can save and test. But before you go, I would recommend that you go over to this tab. And by the way, if you have already used this, try and go and upgrade it, because I pushed an upgrade, I think a few weeks ago. There was an issue with one of the way that the data sources were formatted. So redo that now. It should work out of the box now. So there are two dashboards here. Let me take you to the list one. And this is querying my K6 Cloud account for the tests that I've run. And I can also select which project it pulls data in from. So whoops, that's the poll. Okay, I'll use the default project because that's what I use to run the test. And you see that that test is still running. So I'm going to click on that. And this is the other dashboard. I'll hit zoom to data. This is pulling in all of the information from K6 Cloud. The thresholds aren't coming up yet because I don't think I set any thresholds, and also those just come up for the end of after the end of the test anyway. So this is a good, this way is really good for if you just want all of your tests immediately available on Grafana. So the next one is the Prometheus remote write extension. So to do that, or to show you that, well, I guess I should talk about how there are two ways that you can use this. One is by using the UI for K6 Cloud, and you can also do it using the script. So if you use the script, there's just a code snippet, and you will need to pass in the information like your Prometheus remote write URL and your API key and username and that. But what I'm going to show you today, just because it's more visually appealing, is how to do it on K6 Cloud. So let's head back to K6 Cloud. And this time we're going to this Cloud APM section here on the left. And that brings up this page. And I already had a Grafana Cloud configured, but I'll just show you what it looks like to create a new configuration. So you see that we have a bunch of different options. I'll show you Grafana Cloud now. And there are a bunch of metrics here that you can choose from. You can choose more if you'd like. It depends on what exactly you're testing for. And another cool thing is K6 allows you to create custom metrics. So if you're measuring something that isn't one of the built-in ones, you can also go to this page and select your custom metric here. And then you put in the details that you need for your Prometheus instance, which is the remote write URL and these credentials. So on Grafana Cloud, you go to your account, and then you go over to the details for Prometheus. So over here, and that'll show you the information that you need. So this remote write endpoint is what you need to copy over, and you will need to generate an API key as well. So then once you do that and you save it, that's so far just going to enable access to those configurations by anyone on your account, or maybe just you, but maybe you're also working with a team. So if you want to enable it for a specific test, then you can do that as well. So this is a different way to create a test. Earlier, I showed you a script from the CLI, but there is a graphical way to create a load test as well. And I already sort of pre-filled this one out, but you can add requests in here. And you can also add sleep. So it's sort of the same thing as the script, just in a more visual way. So you can flip back to the script to kind of see what that looks like. But we're going to this Cloud APM section here, and this is where you can enable or disable it. So I've enabled it now, and I'm actually going to run that so we can see it in real time. So while that's kicking off, I did want to go back to Grafana Cloud. And this is what it looks like. So one of the differences between the two integrations is that in the first one, you already have ready-made dashboards. Here, you're going to have to set things up the way that you like it, which could be a positive and could be a negative, right? So this is, let me just show you what that data source looks like. So you select Prometheus here, and then in metrics browser, I only have K6 metrics coming here, so then you can just select those there. So this is a dashboard that I created, but this is for a test that I ran some time ago. So we'll see if that's already running. Yep, it's already 47 seconds in, and we're starting to get data. Okay, so then we can have a look at this, and you can kind of have this side by side. You can have the K6 Cloud results where you have checks here, and you can create charts here as well. But sometimes if you're already using Grafana Cloud, then it also makes sense to just push the metrics over here. So I'm going to go and look at the last 5 minutes. And that's our test. So we're up to 10 virtual users right now. The response time is 2.64 seconds. That's not bad, actually. And all of these are updating in real time. So let's go back and I guess the question is, when should you use the K6 data source plugin, and when should you use Prometheus Remote Write? So the K6 data source plugin is better for recreating K6 dashboards. So if you already like what you see on K6 Cloud, but you just kind of want to bring that experience over to Grafana, then this is probably the easiest way to do that. And then if you already have past tests on your K6 Cloud account that you'd still like to see on Grafana, but you don't want to have to rerun them just to get those results there, then the data source plugin will be able to do that pretty seamlessly. It also comes with a pre-built dashboard, so probably the fastest to set up. Now, the Prometheus Remote Write plugin is better for load testing with K6 OSS because the data source plugin only works for K6 Cloud because that's where your test runs are stored. It also, if you're already using Prometheus, incorporating K6 using Remote Write is probably the way to go. That way you'll have your load testing results where the rest of your metrics are too. And then if you're utilizing multiple APM providers, such as in the case in larger organizations where different teams use different tools, for example, this way will work with any providers that support Prometheus. So you should have a lot to choose from. And lastly, I think that Prometheus Remote Write is the easiest setup if you're using both Grafana Cloud and K6 Cloud. However, nothing's really stopping you from using both. As you can see, I have both set up. I personally like the data source plugin because it lets me go back by test, but then sometimes if I've just run a test and I just want to see what's happening right now, then I'll go use the Prometheus Remote Write dashboard that I set up. So I kind of use them interchangeably. So whichever way you choose, using K6 and Grafana together helps you get a better idea into the inner workings of your application. Using them together gets you both sides of the puzzle. So you have observability tools to let you see what's happening and a testing tool to generate the data. And that's what I've got. I've got a bunch of links to these questions to my social media here, and some information as well, like our documentation, our YouTube channel, and how you can get involved with K6. And I'm also happy to take any questions now.
Awesome. Will you take any questions about what that crocodile is doing in your slides?
Oh, so yeah, sure. So this one, I guess I should explain that actually. This is Bert. Everyone meet Bert. Crocodiles are like a big thing in K6. I took out a whole bunch of slides on crocodiles, just because, we don't have that much time. But we used to have, well, I say we, but I wasn't part of K6 yet, but K6 used to have actual crocodiles in their offices. So maybe it's a good thing that I wasn't part of the company then. And I just thought that this was really a cool thing, Bert sunbathing under the Grafana sun.
That is nice. Awesome. With that out of the way, we can get to the questions. First, I mean, we ran a poll during your talk as well, Nicole. And the question was, is your company doing performance testing already? And 62% said yes, and 31% said maybe. And I guess they will go and check tomorrow whether they are or not, and will report back to us. But actually, that's quite a positive outcome. So there you have it. Let's go to the questions. Do we have a direct way of sending data to Grafana without using any data source?
Without
for
using
K6 OSS, that is. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so there are two ways to do that. You can, with K6 OSS, you can use Prometheus Remote, right? But you can either output to Telegraph, so K6 can output to a variety of formats, including InfluxDB. So Telegraph can then read it and then pass it over. We do have that in our documentation. And I kind of alluded to the second way, but we are right now working on a way to integrate with Prometheus Remote, right, natively from K6 OSS. And I mean, I'm not the one working on it, so I don't want to put any timelines here, but it's close. Like it's already going to be in the next few weeks. It's in this cycle. So I would hold out for that, honestly, if you can. Otherwise, try the InfluxDB Telegraph way.
Awesome. Another question by Daniel. I'm already monitoring my application in production. Why do I need a load testing tool?
Yeah, so this is a common question from observability folks, and I think it's more like they're two sides of the same thing, right? So observability and performance testing should be the way to go. So what performance testing can bring is that observability is great, but usually only in production, because in test environments, you often don't have the load, or you don't have realistic load from the users that you're expecting. So performance testing can really help you move all of those activities into pre-production environments, because now you're not beholden to having users using your application. And I think we can all agree that being able to check out all of the bottlenecks and troubleshoot and figure out why those issues exist is better done before your application goes live. So it makes you more flexible, and it also lets you do testing earlier on in the cycle.
Awesome. Another question by Bart. Does Kubernetes work well on a container, and would it be a good tool for, so would K6 be a good tool for Kubernetes load tests?
Sorry, so what was the question? Sorry.
Would K6 be a good tool for load testing Kubernetes?
Oh yeah, actually the cluster that I have, the sample one that I used, is on a Kubernetes cluster that I deployed on DigitalOcean. So yeah, it needs an endpoint. So once you have that, it's just like any other application.
Great.
I actually did this cool thing. I don't know, this is kind of maybe tangential, but let me show it anyway. I have this other script. I kind of fleshed out the same one, except because I'm targeting my Kubernetes cluster, I was also able to add a chaos experiment targeting the same Kubernetes application on Kubernetes. So yeah, K6 is a performance testing tool first, but you can also use it to do chaos experiments.
Cool. Thanks, Nicole. Can you quickly pull up the last slide? Yes, exactly. Because I just wanted to plug the office hours that Nicole does. So this Friday, we have a great office hours coming up with Leandro Melendez, who is also called Senior Performer, which alludes to what they were talking about. So they were talking about using SLOs in perf testing. just wanted to put that out there. Should definitely check it out. We start Fridays at 5 p.m. CET.
Right.